afternoon, everybody. I think they're always over ambitious in terms of how tall I actually am. My name's Jenny Russell. I am the Interim Director of Education here at the RIBA, and it's both my pleasure and also my privilege to welcome you here to 66 Portland Place on this beautiful day. As someone who's passionate about architectural education, the RIBA Studio graduation is always a very special event for me. Education has been central to the RIBA, and in fact, it was part of the original Royal Charter back in 1834. RIBA examinations in architecture were actually established in the 1800s, and successful completion of these became compulsory for those who were seeking membership into the Institute. In fact, the Florence Hall was the original examination hall, and since the genesis of the RIBA Studio programme reflects this original way to qualify, it seems fitting that you're graduating here today. In particular, I want to welcome and celebrate our first ever graduates from the Foundation programme. Indeed, thank you for paving the way for all of those who will follow in your footsteps. I'd like to say something about the journey that you've been on to get to this point. We're fully aware that this is not an easy route. In fact, managing and balancing the pressures of work and study is difficult and arduous, and we recognise the dedication and the hard work that it takes to follow the programme. I've seen this firsthand because in a former life I was a tutor to a RIBA Studio student. And in all of that, we want to also recognise and acknowledge the support that comes from your family and friends as you've undertaken this journey. We know how important this is, and we want to say thank you to all of you for your support. And finally, I would like to extend thanks to my colleagues, Joe Parry and Caroline Gooch, who run this award for us here at the RIBA, for the dedication and the care that they give to it. And together, Joe, Caroline and I want to acknowledge the partnership that we've had with Oxford Bricks in the delivery of this programme over the last 20 years, and to recognise the skill, the ability and the dedication of Christina, Maria and all of the staff and leadership team in how they not only deliver the programme, but have also been critical in the maturity and development of the programme to what it is today. So thank you very much. And in particular, I'd like to recognise the work of Sam Hyam-Hughes, who has nurtured this programme as programme manager for the last number of years. Sam's moving on from the RIBA Studio, and I want to thank her for all that she has done in her role that's been above and beyond. And I'm sure that this is echoed by Christina and everyone at Brooks. So on that note, I'd like to hand over to Christina Goddickson, head of the school at Oxford Brooks, to say a few words. And I really hope that you enjoy today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm not going to go over what Jenny's just done because she did it so well. So I'm going to concentrate on the student experience that you've had and also the student experience that is to follow, as well as the professional one. I want you all to know just how hard you have worked, and we've seen it, evidenced in your work, and the external examiners that come every year. They are so complimentary of the efforts that you've put in and the incredible dedication that you've put into your work, whilst you've also got, big commitments outside of your education and in practice. And I think that's the the bit that I'd like to kind of concentrate on for a little bit, because I think you offer something really special to architectural education, because you are that link between education and practice, and what you then bring to your design development and how you mature as architects is really something quite unique, and you have so much to offer, and it's also so much that you've got to offer back to the profession, and then, you know, students of all kinds that are going to study architecture, you know, in years to come. And I hope when you go on from today that you keep reminding yourselves of that. And then I think, you know, after we finish all of these formalities, that you are, you know, 3 sets of students here today, take the advantage of passing on and sharing your experience, you know, in the light of this celebration. I think that's, you know, really one of the moments to sort of to do that in as well. And so thank you very much for the dedication you've shown the course. And we're so very pleased to be able to do this with you and to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Today's speaker is well known to many in this room. As a graduate of the RIBA Studio programme, Chris Rogers' path to becoming a chartered architect was possibly, like many of you, not a conventional one. When Chris's childhood dream to become a soldier ended prematurely due to injury, Chris trained as a technician, becoming a chartered architectural technologist. Having ambitions to run his own practice, he undertook his Part 1 and Part 2 through the RIBA Studio. In 2017, his dissertation, which echoed that childhood passion, investigating the way in which the architectural environment may reduce post-traumatic stress disorder in combat troops. It was awarded a commendation in the President's Medals Awards. Then in January 2018, 3 months after becoming a chartered architect, Chris started his own practice, Brink Architects. So Chris, thank you for accepting our invitation to speak at today's ceremony. You are so very welcome, and we really look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you very much. When I was asked to come in and talk today, my first thoughts were, what could I possibly talk about that's both interesting and relevant to you guys? Obviously, the subject of architecture is vast, so would it appear at first to be a ridiculous problem to have. But I wanted to discuss something much more unique that brings us all together, and something that we all have in common. In this regard, what is unique about each and every one of us is quite simply that we are unique. We all have a unique and very different reason as to why we cannot undertake the full-time course. In this regard, the architectural student that does the full-time course, all but not most, when I speak to them, will quite often reminisce about how they were at a tender age and they played with Lego, and they knew instantly then that they wanted to become an architect. And so they would go through the usual process of doing well at school, and they'd go on to GCSEs, and they'd do well at GCSEs. And they'd do their A-levels, and they'd do very well at their A-levels. And then they'd enroll into a full-time course. Now, the first 3 years at their university, full-time, they'll get through that with a bit of luck, and then they'll go into industry for a year. Well, we say a year, we all know it's more like 3 months, and then they will jump back into full-time course for a further 2 years. Now, all being well, they will pass and they will go on to do their Part 3 whilst working in industry. So Can you possibly imagine how your day would be if you managed to do it on a full-time course? How much simpler life would be? You'd be able to wake up in daylight hours. You'd consume your breakfast at a pace that didn't resemble a pie eating competition winner. You'd possibly bimble down to your work, arriving sometime before noon, before catching up with your colleagues and discussing how busy you are. So what made me think, why is it that we choose to undertake the hardest possible route to qualification? Is it because we have sadistic tendencies or unhealthy levels in stress that we enjoy having? Perhaps the notion of sleep or social interaction is not something we're fond of. After all, who wants to go on their best mate's stag do to Eastern Europe anyway? Finally, I thought it's actually none of the above. It's quite simply because we're all unique. Every one of us has a very different story to tell as to why the conventional route to architectural qualification is neither available or desirable to us. So I thought today I would share my story as to why I decided to undertake the course. Now, it may seem a little weird to say, but I've rarely told this story, so what can possibly go wrong? First, I need to ask you not to judge me too harshly. The story comes good in the end, and I have matured a lot since the start of this story. And my story starts back when I was in my late 20s. I'd worked in practice for 10 years. I'd risen through the ranks. I was an office junior, self-proclaimed senior office junior, onto the junior technician, a senior technician, finally became a chartered technologist, and then became the technical manager for my practice. I worked on jobs from a couple of 100,000 up to a few million, and I had a team of about 3 to 5 people that worked for me, depending on the size of the job we were working on. And the icing on the cake at the time of this story is I'd just been made an associate director. So to sum up, life was pretty great. I was a very good technologist, and I thought I was a pretty good architect. The fact I could not use the title architect did not bother me. Why would it? Why did I need it? I was a chartered technologist. I was an associate director. So I'm a little ashamed to say that both my confidence and arrogance were running at an all-time high. Something that did not help stem this flow of arrogance was that I found myself in a very, very fortunate position where all the jobs that came into the practice, I kind of had my pick as to which ones I wanted to do. And the jobs I enjoyed the most were always the most challenging jobs. So this story takes place at a time that the biggest and most challenging job came into the practice. Now, it was a hall of residence for one of the Oxford colleges. For the purposes of this story, will remain nameless. It was a very prestigious job. For those who do not know, lots of practices will spend a lifetime trying to work for the Oxford colleges. Notwithstanding the fact they pay very good fees, they also give you or afford you a very interesting level of creative flow, and they're quite open to suggestion, and you get to have an awful lot of architectural freedom on their jobs. So this particular job, what was challenging about it is it was right in the centre of Oxford, and it was right next to a scheduled ancient monument of Oxford Castle. In fact, my site had the boundary wall of Oxford Castle. It was in the old moat of the castle. It was triangular in shape, a little awkward, had a fast flowing river on one side, had a main road running down the side of it of a pedestrian footpath, and a castle scheduled ancient monument wall. Now, the brief was to fit 58 rooms onto this tiny little site, so the only way I could design it was to go up 3 stories and down 1. What made matters worse was there's a 3-meter diameter culvert that ran straight through the middle of my site. So I had to design around this. And the hall of residence had to accommodate all of the usual paraphernalia you'd expect, cycle stores, everything else, bin stores, plant rooms, and so on and so forth. So I got to work and we designed the site and we got planning consent and they started on site. They started excavating the site and they bumped into the old drawbridge along with a whole host of architectural remains. So the site was shut down for 2 months while the Brushes and Spoons Brigade came in, cleared the site, and then we were able to then crack on. What made matters worse was the effect of this 2-month shutdown meant the contractor went bust 4 months later. And my practice were lead consultant and contract administrator. So I had the job of retendering it, bringing it back in on budget, redesigning parts of it, and then trying to get it back on program. Now, a very long story short, we pulled it off. And it went on to win a design award. Don't worry, none of the Sterling Prize nominees were overly concerned. It was one of those little planning awards that don't really count, to be fair, but it was something I was very proud of. So at the time, it went to a couple of journals, and it was the highest room per acre ratio for any halls in Oxford or Cambridge. Even the Queen rocked up and went past my site when she opened the castle one next door. So amongst this great fanfare, it's fairly safe to say that everyone was very happy despite the contractor going bust. And to reflect this happiness and everyone being really glad about this great project, they invited me to a congratulatory get-together. Now, before I continue this story, I have to introduce the bursar of the college to my tale, who, for the purposes of this story, I will call Brigadier Judgy Judge. I'd not known Brigadier Judgy Judge very long, or rather, I had known him, sorry, for a very long time. For the preceding 3 years, we had worked together. Throughout the design process, many emails, many correspondence, many design team meetings, as you can imagine. He was ex-army, hence the name, we had to call him Brigadier, and I was ex-army too, so we had a little bit of a connection there. And I think it's fair to say we got on very well. So going back to the story, we're all at this congratulatory get-together. The great and the good were there, and I, along with a number of others, was reminiscing with the Brigadier about the trials and the tribulations of this site. There were many canapes consumed and a great deal of backslapping went on. And towards the end of the day, the Brigadier asked me to comment on another architect's design. He said, "Chris, you're an architect," because that's how he spoke, like Brian Blessed. He said, "Chris, you're an architect. Come and comment on this other person's design that we just got in." I had to stop him and say, "Well, actually, Brigadier, I'm not an architect." And he turned to me and said, "What? Not an architect?" And he turned his back and he walked away. Now, in my defense, and despite thinking I was as good as an architect, I never once proclaimed to be one. My auto signature never had RIBA or architect after my name. The website clearly stated I was an architectural technologist. And I was never at any point introduced as an architect. Notwithstanding my delusions of grandeur, this is something that holds very important to me. Having served in the forces, you learn from the very start that you have to earn the right to wear your regimental and corps colours. I firmly believe the same of the title architect. You have to earn the right. So in this crushing moment, I instantly realised that I had to have the title to receive the respect. It would have been easy for me to be indignant and dismiss his antiquated view, or to point out that some of the world's best architects are not actually allowed to call themselves architects. And I could have screamed to the rafters that it was not fair, But as my dad repeatedly reminded me from a very young age, life is not fair, son, get on with it. And with this, I started the studio course. At the time, I had a 2-year-old son, Henry, a 1-year-old daughter, Whistly, a loving wife, Josephine, a mortgage and a full-time job. But I do not believe any of this mattered. After all, this course is a simple box-ticking exercise. Yes, I am sorry to say, my arrogance still knew no bounds. Although in my defence of my younger self, I had been in practice 13 years. I was a chartered technologist and associate director. But as I look around now, I can see those of you who knows what's coming. Those of you that have completed the course have that wry smile on your face. You're all thinking it, and you would be absolutely right. You're thinking, this guy's going to get it. And it's fair to say I did. What an awakening. A simple box ticking exercise does not come close to describing the act of completing this course. This course is a true test of character, resolve, ambition, and pure determination. It's anything but a box ticking exercise. Come 8 o'clock at night, when Johnny Average Student on the full-time course is contemplating what random mix of alcohol will get him smashed the quickest, you would have done a whole day's work, possibly with overtime that you're not getting paid for. You could have picked kids up, dropped kids off, cooked meals. You would have tidied your house and carried out a myriad of other chores that every one of us in full-time work has to do. And come 8 o'clock at night, you will have only just sat down at your desk to revise for an exam on the entire history of architecture. I hope you all enjoyed that one. Best 4 hours of my life. So as with any traumatic experience, I've experienced a full suite of emotions. It started off with disbelief, couldn't possibly be happening to me, anger, depression, and finally acceptance. And it's with this acceptance that I truly understood that to be an architect is not changing a Balmoral house type to a Windsor house type, nor is it maximizing my clients' profits. For me, it became the opportunity to produce amazing spaces, to influence how we all live and how we all work. In fact, I very quickly realized that the practice I was in was not for me, and I started my own practice very shortly after qualifying. So what makes us all the same is our unique circumstances. I believe the course the hardest route to qualification. And to my mind, we are very much like the special forces of the architectural world. When you witness a group of architects meeting for the first time, it is highly likely that you will listen to a conversation in which they all try to establish what uni each went to. They all want, in an effort to discern whose university was better and establish a pecking order. Within these socially awkward interactions, you can quite often spot a fellow graduate of the studio course, as there will be no bragging, no one-upmanship on whose uni has more prestige, on whose course is harder, or if their uni is currently top 10 or not. There is just a reserved confidence and that wry smile that only someone who has truly been there and got the t-shirt can have. And with that, I would like to commend you all that completed the course and wish all that are starting the course the very best of luck. If you have what it takes, you will be able to count yourselves amongst the best. And finally, no story is complete without a mention to all of those people who support us through the course. Those that step up, relieve the burden by cooking meals, looking after kids, cleaning houses, check reading assignments, and listening to hours upon hours of complaint. As I said, we are all unique, so I cannot speak for everyone, but I can honestly say that I could not have done it without the support of my family and my tutor. So I think a final round of applause needs to go to the support crew. Thank you.
Chris, thank you so much for such an inspirational talk. That was really wonderful. I'd like to invite Chris to remain with us on the stage to present the awards and to invite Joe Parry, Head of Professional Education here at the RIBA, to come up and lead our awards presentation.
Once again, thank you all for coming. It's lovely to see so many of you here with your families and friends this afternoon. Welcome also to any of those of you who are joining us online. I'm Joanna Parry from the RIBA Education team. Shortly, we're going to ask Chris, as Jenny said, to present the Foundation Awards, certificates and diplomas to all the graduates who are attending this afternoon. Unfortunately, not everyone can be here, of course, so shortly on the loop you should see the names of everybody who's graduated, foundation students from 2021 and certificate and diploma students from 2022. For anyone who is watching from home who couldn't attend today, we want to offer you our sincere congratulations, although we can't meet you in person, and we do hope all of you will keep in touch, of course, with the RIBA and Oxford Brookes University in the future. I'm now going to read out the names of those graduates who are here today, and I invite you to come forward when your name is called to receive your certificate. We've sort of planned on the basis that you would like to shake the hand of Jenny and Chris, but of course if you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's absolutely fine, so just keep your hands down or present your elbow or your fist if you prefer to do it that way. So first of all, we have graduates who are receiving the RIBA Foundation in Architecture, and the first one today is Akinwande Davies. Oh, he's coming. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
Charlotte Edwards. Amal El Mashrafi. Jessica Hodgson. And Nick Farr. And now we have graduates receiving the RIBA Certificate in Architecture, Owen Carroll. Oh. Paul Colfer. Thomas Gibbs. Rachel Jones. Joseph Travers. Matthew Williamson. And now graduates receiving the RIBA Diploma in Architecture, Georgiana Chiviu. Next, I have Stephen Drake. I'm not sure if Stephen is here. No, he did say he might not be able to make it at the last minute. Should we give Stephen a round of applause anyway? Stephen Earls. Laura Goodrick. Monaco Gutauskaita. James Hicks. Rosie Nicholson. Radostina Stoyanova. And Dimitris Yanakis. Can I just double check? Is there anyone, any other graduates here who were expecting to receive their award today? Okay, that's great. I think we've got everybody. Thank you. I'm going to hand back now to Christina, who's going to come to the stage. If I can ask Chris and Jenny to sit down. And Christina is going to talk you through some RIBA prize winners today.
Congratulations, everyone. Very well done. I have here also some special mentions and some prizes to give out. And I'm going to start with the foundation course. So I'm going to read out a few prizes, even if people are not here, because I think there's some important things to say. So the first prize winner today is Ingrid McLaren. And Maria, who is not here today, the director of the course, she sends everyone her congratulations and she wishes she could be here. She's written some notes for me so that I can make sure that all the right things are said. So earlier this year, Ingrid was awarded the RIBA Award for a highly prized submission. Through the course, she has been an attentive, insightful, and an elegant creator, as demonstrated by a powerful piece of work, which included her own musical composition, prose, and a voiceover. And we also note that her personal tutor is Connie Ivanova. The next prize is for Charlotte Edwards. So Charlotte Edwards would like to come up. Wait 1 second, no go. So awarded the RIBA Foundation Martin Pierce Prize for overall portfolio. Charlotte has been a deeply committed student, produced an exciting and energetically creative portfolio, and her presence has been a stimulus to the entire cohort. Congratulations. And the next prize goes to Akiwande Davies. If you would please come up. I'm going to read first and then do the handshake, okay? So, awarded the RIBA Foundation Prize for the most progressed portfolio. One Day worked hard this year to shift his critical thinking to a deeper level of inquiry, as reflected in his final proposal and demonstrated in his final overall portfolio. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so we move on to the certificate part 1, also awarded the Martin Pierce Prize. Rachel Jones, would you like to come to the stage, please? So Rachel is awarded the Martin Pierce Prize. Rachel was our Part 1 student rep in her penultimate year of study. She also presented earlier design work at the very first student-led conference. She's been kind, humble, hardworking, generous, and an incredible subtle thinker, and demonstrated her capacity as a deeply creative, emerging architect on our course. She truly embodies the spirit of the Martin Pierce Award. Her final project was nominated for the RIBA President's Medals Award, Bronze. Congratulations. The next prize is to a student that's not attending today, but I think we should still mention it. It's for Niall Christie. He's also awarded the Martin Pierce Prize. Niall has been a generous and critical friend to many on the course. His name often came up in meetings with students commenting on his support and kindness. His high caliber work in combination with his attitude makes him ideally suited for this certificate prize. We look forward to our continued work together on the diploma course. Moving on to the diploma part 2, the next prize goes to Rosie Nicholson. Congratulations. Rosie has consistently produced at a high caliber, and her design work touched on critical aspects of urban spatial development and important issues for the profession. Her work was beautiful and poetic in narrative, material makeup, and in its aspirations for society. Her final project was nominated for the RIBA President Medals Award, Silver. Congratulations. Congratulations. And finally, I'd like to just mention a thank you to our student reps. And so there will be something sent to you as well. But I just want to say that we're so incredibly grateful for the work you've done this year, because we did, or you helped us create our very first student-led conference. And it was a fantastic space for sharing design iteration with exceptional students and graduates. And they also enabled important communication across the cohorts. And so thank you very much, Maria Rakina, Monica Gastukate, Sarah Misran, and Mark Pulley, Golnaz Sabeti, and Timalin Songonuga, and Tashima Maston. And I'm going to hand back to Jenny. Sorry.
And so we come to the end of our graduation today. I want to thank you all so much for attending, and I want to offer you, on behalf of everyone here, the staff of Oxford Bricks and the Royal Institute of British Architects, our huge congratulations on your very, very well-deserved awards. But I want to leave you with a thought. I have a very soft spot for mid-20th century Dutch architects. One of them, Aldo van Eyck, said, "Whatever space and time mean, place and occasion mean more. For space in the image of man is place, and time in the image of man is occasion. This space, the spaces you design, may be beautiful, but without them, without anyone in them, they just remain spaces. You being here not only makes this a place today, but more importantly, being here at this point in time makes this an occasion. So please stay, enjoy each other's company. This is an occasion to be celebrated. And we have refreshments at the back to enable you to help you to celebrate that further. Please feel free to approach our photographer if you'd like an individual photo or a family photo. But first of all, if after this I could invite all of the graduates to convene at the front, let's capture this occasion with a photograph. So thank you so much.